Valentine's Day is coming, and we at Fire Mountain Gems and Beads have just the thing for that special someone, Valentine's themed jewelry. Hi, I'm Patti. I'm a jewelry designer here at Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. The first thing I'll do is sew my two filigree components together using about 9 inches of 26 gauge silver plated wire. I've already cut a length of wire. Is make a really small loop in the wire with some round nose pliers. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's not going to show. Just so I have a loop. Then I'm going to pick up my filigree component and flip it around so the back side is facing me. I'll choose a loop at the edge and thread the wire through one of the holes in the component until the little loop that I made reaches the edge. Then I'm going to take some pliers and just flip that little loop around so it creates a bend in the wire. So when I pull on it, the wire stays on the piece. Then I'm going to pick up my second filigree component and put that right on top, lined up. And then I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to start sewing around the edge with the wire. So we are bonding those two components together. You want to pull nice and firmly. Just like that. The wire feels like it's stuck or it's not going through, you can take your round nose pliers and just kind of cheat it through there a little bit. And then pull again. Just keep going. Through every hole around the edge of the piece, through both components. You want it to be nice and tight at the edges. And you'll just continue this process all the way around. Okay, so I've sewed about 3/4 of the way around my component, so they're nice and firmly together. I'm just going to finish with the last couple of stitches here. There's one more. Okay, it's nice and firmly sewn together. Then I'm just going to go to the edge of that component and thread the wire through between them and let it come out one of the holes. Maybe down just a little bit further. I think I'll use my plier to pull that. I want to make sure all of the wire goes through that hole. It's got a little bend in it, so I'm going to straighten that out. Okay, now that that's nice and firmly through there, to finish off sewing these filigree components together, I'm just going to take my flush cutters with the flush side toward the component and just as close as I can nip off that wire. And that'll stay inside the component now so it can't scratch you. The next thing we'll do is create the link that's going to go between the ear wire and the filigree component. So I'm just going to pick up my eye pin, thread on my bicone. And then I'm going to make a simple loop. So I'll grab my chain nose pliers and just as close as I can to the bicone, make almost a 45-degree angle, a pretty good angle there. Then I'm going to pick up my round nose pliers and I'm going to position them right at the base of the wire near the bicone, and I'm just going to push the tail around all the way around past the bicone and keep going. Some people stop right here, but you don't get as round of a link, so I'm just going to keep going. And I have a nice round simple loop. Then I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and I'm going to bend that away from the piece so I can really get at that with my nippers. I'm going to take my nippers and I'm just going to cut off that tail. And then straighten it with my flat nose. So there's my link. I'm going to open that link sideways just a bit and add on the ear wire. And then push it back in to close it. Nice and snug. Okay, so there I have my link on my ear wire. Next thing I'll do is I'll use my jump ring opener. And my chain nose pliers. Attach the link. And then with the square in the middle of the component in a horizontal orientation, I will attach the jump ring through both components that I sewed together and close it with my jump ring opener. So there I have my filigree component attached to my ear wire. Next, I'm going to attach the heart via some jump rings. So I'm going to open up my larger jump ring. Attach that through the bottom of the filigree component and then to the smaller jump ring and then close it. Nice and snug. The last thing I have to do is attach my heart to the smaller jump ring. So I have to find the side of the jump ring so I can open it properly. There we go. Always open it sideways, that's important. And then drop on the little puffed heart and torque that jump ring back together, nice and snug. And there we have our almost finished earring. The last part will be to glue on the little Swarovski spikes, one on the front and one on the back. I'm going to do that with some DevCon 5-minute epoxy. It's a 2-part epoxy. Got a little dish that I will mix it in. So we open up the cap, and it's really important to keep these elements apart. So we don't want them to touch each other in the container because that will clog it up and make it not usable. So I'm going to squirt out just a little bit of epoxy. I don't need very much, and it has to be about the same amount from each side. There we go. Doesn't take much. And then quickly put my cap back on in the right orientation so I can use that again. Then I'm going to use a toothpick to just mix that up nice and thoroughly. I'll do it for 30 seconds or so, just to make sure it's really well incorporated. I'm going to pick up my little spike. So the bottom is like this in one hand. And I'm going to use a toothpick to put just a very small amount of the DevCon epoxy in the center of this square. You don't want to overuse epoxy. The more you use, the more that will splash out the sides when you put it down, and it won't look as nice. So just a little dab. Then I'm going to put my spike right in the center, and I can use another Q-tip, or excuse me, I can use another toothpick to kind of just center that and make sure it's right where I want it to be. Then I'm just going to wait 5 minutes for that to dry. Once 5 minutes has passed and the piece has dried, pick it up, flip it over, and use your DevCon epoxy to affix the second Swarovski spike to the piece. So that's it. You'll have a beautiful pair of Valentine's earrings.